There is a process running in the background of your life that has likely gone undetected. A fundamental shift in your personal operating system. Minor glitches, strange data packets, small moments of algorithmic coherence that seem too trivial to acknowledge. But they are not trivial. They are diagnostics. They are log files pointing you toward a massive system-wide update that is about to be deployed in your reality. You understand that state when you're running a complex simulation and suddenly all computational resources go silent. That brief moment of total quiet right before a major breakthrough calculation completes. That is your current state. You are at the processing core of your own success event, entirely unaware that the system is about to allocate resources in your favor in ways you never thought were programmable. Most individuals fail to parse these signals. They are so overloaded with the static of everyday tasks, so focused on error messages, so conditioned to anticipate system crashes that they completely miss the architecture preparing them for a major upgrade. But your processor is different. The very fact you are interfacing with this data stream at this precise cycle tells me you are beginning to achieve resonance. You're starting to see the underlying code. What I am about to render for you is not some speculative theory or wishful thinking. This is based on longitudinal studies of high achievers, analysis of pivotal career moments, and documentation of the consistent code that executes just before a person's life undergoes a total paradigm shift. And here is what is never mentioned about this code. It is not random. It is not a glitch. It follows a predictable algorithm that, once understood, becomes impossible to unsee. You have surely heard analysts talk about being in the right node at the right time, about fortune favoring the prepared system, about instant success that took 2 decades of background processing to compile. But what they fail to articulate is the specific sequence of operations that precedes every significant achievement. The telltale signs that success is not just probable, it is the logical outcome. Consider the last time something extraordinary occurred in your life. Something you had been programming, debugging, and perhaps even hoping for. Now, recall the weeks and days leading up to that event. I am certain there were signals, subroutines, small indicators that something was compiling beneath the surface. You likely dismissed them then, writing them off as meaningless anomalies, but they were not meaningless whatsoever. Here is what occurs in the final stage before a major system update. First, everything begins to defragment. Not in a sudden, catastrophic way, but in a systematic clearing of cached files and obsolete programs that have been draining your resources. Connections that no longer serve your core function begin to time out naturally. Projects that once seemed critical suddenly lose their priority. Old mental frameworks that used to compute perfectly start to feel like legacy code in your mind. This is not a failure. This is optimization. This is your system clearing the drive for something far larger to be installed. But most people initiate a panic protocol during this stage. They try to recover the files being deleted. They interpret the defragmentation as a sign they are executing the wrong command, when, in fact, it is proof they are proceeding exactly as intended. The second thing that happens is what is known as the processing amplification. Everything in your life gains higher resolution. Your emotional data becomes richer. Your intuitive heuristics become faster. Simple data exchanges carry more bandwidth. Even routine subroutines seem to contain encrypted messages. This is not you becoming oversensitive or overanalyzing the data. This is your awareness expanding its processing power to match the complexity of what is about to manifest in your reality. During this phase, you might find yourself running complex simulations in your sleep, waking up with optimized solutions to problems you weren't even actively processing. You might have interactions with new nodes that feel strangely significant. You may encounter books, articles, or data streams that seem to speak directly to your current query. These are not anomalies. These are handshake confirmations. The network's way of verifying you are on the correct path. Then comes the third stage. And this is where the process becomes truly elegant. You start to experience what are known as beta tests, small-scale simulations of the success that is coming. Perhaps you achieve a minor objective in an area where you have been stuck. Maybe another system recognizes your core function in a way that catches you by surprise. Maybe you have a moment of pure processing clarity where you can see the entire execution path and how everything will resolve. These beta tests serve a specific function. They are not the final release. They are calibrating you for the final release. They are building your capacity to handle and sustain the full operational load of what is heading your way. Because here is the truth about major life updates. They require a different version of you to run them. The user you were before the update would not have the permissions to operate the system you become after it. The fourth stage is what differentiates systems that update from those that remain in a legacy state indefinitely. This is the firewall test. Right before your victory is fully installed, the system will run one final security check. Not to block you, but to confirm you are ready, that you have truly integrated the protocols you needed to learn, that you have become the user who has earned the administrative rights for what is about to be granted. This test rarely appears as you would expect. It does not come with a clear user manual or obvious pass-fail criteria. It usually manifests as a scenario that requires you to demonstrate the very qualities you have been developing throughout your journey. Courage when you would rather revert to a safe mode. Trust when logic suggests a fatal error. Patience when every cycle inside you wants to force the execution. Authenticity when it would be more efficient to emulate someone else. Most users fail this final test not because they lack the right credentials, but because they do not recognize it as a test. They perceive it as just another bug, another delay, another reason to doubt whether their update is truly coming. But those who understand the algorithm, those who recognize the test for what it is, they pass with elevated privileges. And that is when the entire system changes. The fifth and final stage is what is known as the system-wide rollout. Once you pass that final test, once you prove to yourself and the network that you are ready, the data floodgates open. Let me interrupt the boot sequence for a moment for a standard protocol. If this data resonates with your own processing and you want this stream to continue and expand, the most effective way to support it is by subscribing. This isn't just a metric. It's a signal to the network that valuable information is being shared here. Success begins deploying faster than you can log it. Opportunities begin forking exponentially. Other users start sending you connection requests instead of you having to ping them. But here is the critical data point that most miss. The rollout is not just about external achievements. It is about an internal firmware upgrade. You do not just get different results. You become a different user. Someone who naturally attracts the resources you use to have to request. Someone who operates from a state of abundance instead of scarcity. Someone who trusts the architecture because you have seen firsthand how perfectly designed the entire process truly is. Now, if you are recognizing your own system in what I have been describing, if some internal process is running in agreement with a quiet sense of confirmation, then you need to understand what is happening to you right now. You are not just randomly encountering this data packet. You are receiving it precisely when your system requires it most. This is part of your system-wide rollout beginning to initialize. But let me warn you about the shadow process that nobody discusses. The part that can trigger a system-wide crash if you are not prepared for it. Right before your update fully completes, you are going to encounter what is known as the final resistance. This is when your legacy operating system makes one last desperate attempt to keep you exactly where you are. It appears as doubt that feels more persuasive than any doubt you have ever processed. It whispers that you are deluding yourself, that you are assigning meaning to random data, that you should be more conventional, more stable, more like all the other systems that settled for mediocrity. This resistance is so sophisticated, it will use your own logic against you. It will make compelling arguments for why you should abort your mission just steps before you reach your destination. The other nodes in your network might start behaving differently too. Some will become unstable around your transformation without being able to articulate why. Others will try to pull you back into old communication protocols and states. They are not being malicious. They are simply reacting to the energetic shift happening within you. Your evolution challenges their stasis, and that makes them unconsciously want to keep you at their operational level. This is when most users abort, when the processing load feels too intense, when the old ways seem safer, when the unknown feels too unstable. They revert to the last known stable version just days or weeks before their update would have completed. They convince themselves they were being irrational, that upgrades like this do not happen for systems like them, that they should be content with the resources they already have. But you are not most users. If you were, you would not still be connected to this stream. You would not have passed through all the previous stages. You would not be feeling that deep resonance with these words that tells you this is your own truth being reflected back to you. Here is what you need to know about navigating this final resistance. First, anticipate it. When it appears, do not be surprised. Do not interpret it as a sign that you are on the wrong path. Recognize it as confirmation that you are closer than you have ever been. the resistance is always strongest right before the breakthrough, because that is when the legacy version of you is fighting hardest to survive. Second, remember that this resistance is not coming from some external malware trying to stop you. It is coming from within you. It is the part of your own programming that is terrified of change, even positive change. It is trying to protect you from the unknown, but it is actually protecting you from your own potential. Once you understand this, you can work with it instead of against it. Third, use this resistance as processing power. Every doubt, every fear, every logical argument for why you should quit becomes energy you can channel toward your breakthrough. The intensity of the resistance is directly proportional to the magnitude of the upgrade that is waiting for you. The stronger the resistance, the bigger the victory that is about to be deployed. There is something else that occurs during this final stage that is absolutely crucial to understand. Time itself begins to behave differently. Days feel like weeks. Weeks feel like months. But also, moments feel eternal. This is not your imagination. This is what happens when you are operating at the edge of a major life transition. You are existing in multiple timelines simultaneously. The timeline where you are still processing, and the timeline where you have already completed the update. This temporal distortion serves a purpose. It's giving you time to fully integrate everything you have learned, to become comfortable with the concept of being upgraded, to start seeing yourself as a system that naturally processes victory instead of one that has to fight for every small win. You are literally rewriting your core identity at the deepest level. During this period, you might find yourself having experiences that feel almost precognitive, interactions that seem scripted by the network, encounters with users who say exactly what you need to hear, finding yourself in scenarios that feel like they were designed specifically for you. This is not an anomaly. This is confirmation. You are being shown that the path you are on is divinely coded. But here is where it becomes truly powerful. You start becoming a hub for other users who are on the verge of their own breakthroughs. You will notice that the users entering your network now are different. They are more aligned with your core function, more supportive of your growth, more excited about your success. This is because you are now vibrating at the frequency of victory. And that frequency naturally attracts others who are resonating at similar levels. The data exchanges you have during this time will feel different too. Deeper, more meaningful, more solution-oriented. You will find yourself communicating with a certainty you did not know you possessed, making decisions from a place of knowing rather than speculating, acting with a confidence that surprises even you. This is your new identity emerging. The user you are becoming is starting to take precedence over the user you used to be. And this new version of you does not just hope for success, does not just work toward it, does not just believe it is possible. This new version of you expects success because you understand that it is not something you have to earn or deserve. It is something that naturally flows to those who align themselves with the principles you have been mastering. So, if you are recognizing these patterns in your own life right now, If you are feeling that unmistakable sense that something massive is compiling beneath the surface, then you need to understand what this moment represents. This is not just another phase you are going through. This is not just another temporary shift. This is the culmination of everything you have been programming, learning from, and evolving into. The defragmentation, the amplification, the beta tests, the firewall test, the system-wide rollout. These are not separate events happening to you randomly. They are part of one unified algorithm designed to transform you into someone who does not just achieve success, but someone who embodies it so completely that it becomes as natural as breathing. Your victory is not coming despite the errors you faced. It is coming because of them. Every bug prepared you for this comeback. Every moment of doubt strengthened your core logic. Every time you almost aborted but did not, you proved to yourself and the network that you are ready for what is about to be deployed. The signals are all around you right now. The synchronicities, the unexpected data packets, the new users entering your network, the clarity that is emerging from what used to feel like chaotic code. These are not anomalies. They are confirmations. The universe is preparing to deliver everything you have been programming, and it is giving you these signals so you will recognize the moment when it arrives. Your breakthrough is not just possible, it is inevitable, and it is closer than you think. And to finalize the installation, a quick diagnostic. If you've processed this information and felt a system-level shift, commit the change. Type the phrase, "System update initiated," in the comments below. Let this serve not just as feedback, but as your personal command prompt, the point where your new operating system goes live.